Guys, what's up? This is Captain E3E with another video, this time featuring the Grumman F14 Tomcat. This aircraft flew with VF111, the sundowners. This is a basic version of the F14 Tomcat. This is the F14A. Now, I'll give you a close-up of the weapons. You got a pair of AIM-7 Sparrow and AIM-9 Sidewinders. And the basic weapons for the F-14 Tomcat was the Hughes AIM-54 Phoenix, the AIM-9 Sidewinder, and the AIM-7 Sparrow. And the AIM-54 Phoenix could be fired simultaneously, but it was never used in combat. Only the AIM-9 Sidewinder. The basic crew for the F-14, a crew of 2, RIO, or Radar Intercept Officer, and the pilot. And was armed with a single 3mm gun, and it was powered by a pair of Pratt & Whitney F111 afterburners. Top speed of the F-14 Tomcat was around about at 1,400 miles an hour, twice at the speed of sound. It was to be the U.S. Navy's premier carrier-based aircraft to replace the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II. The F-14 Tomcat made its main flight on December 12, 1970, from Grumman's Calverton plant in Calverton, New York. The aircraft was later delivered in 1974. Units such as VF124, the Gunfighters, VF1 Wolfpack, VF2 Bounty Hunters, VF84 Jolly Rogers, VF41 Black Aces, VF111 the Sundowners, VF213 the Black Lions, VF154 the Black Knights, VF33 the Starfighters, VF102 the Diamondbackers, VF103 Sluggers, VF31 Tomcatters, VF11 the Red Hatters, VF14 the Top Hatters, VF32 Swordsmen, VF111 the Grim Reapers, and others flew this aircraft. Each of the U.S. Navy's aircraft carriers operated the F-14 Tomcat, and the Tomcat was to see action for the very first time during operations over Libya in 1981, where 2 F-14 Tomcats from VF-41, the Black Aces, had shot down 2 Libyan Air Force Sukhoi Su-17s, and later, in 1989, from VF-32 Swordsman, 2 F-14s from the aircraft carrier John F. Kennedy dispatched 2 Libyan MiG-23 floggers over the Gulf of Sidra. The basic, I don't know if you can see it, is the F-14 would carry a TARPUS package. TARPUS was to be used for reconnaissance for the F-14 Tomcat. during Operation Desert Storm. And it was the aircraft that was a recruiting tool for the U.S. Navy for for the 1986 movie Top Gun, starring Tom Cruise, Kelly McGinnis, Anthony Edwards, and Val Kilmer. Even though that Tom Cruise did not fly the actual plane, and it was shot in a on a Hollywood soundstage. I'll give you a beautiful profile of the F-14 Tomcat. On board the F-14, crews could experience from 0 to 170 miles an hour under 2.5 seconds once they're launched from the aircraft carrier, but the aircraft was plagued with a number of accidents that included a hydraulic leak that was indicated in the nose gear that killed 2 Grumman's crew that flew this aircraft from the aircraft carrier Forrestal and later from the aircraft carrier Independence. The F-14 was to see action in 1981 and in 1989, 1991, and from 2001 up until 2003, and then the aircraft was eventually retired and was replaced by the F-18 ENF Super Hornet. This aircraft today sits in a number of museums. That includes Tico's Warbird Museum in Titusville, Florida, Sun and Fun in Lakeland, Florida, the U.S. Navy's Hall of Fame and Museum in Pensacola, Florida, and the USS Intrepid Sea Air and Space Museum in New York City, and the aircraft carriers Lexington and Yorktown. Lexington in Corpus Christi, Texas, and the Yorktown, Patriots Point, South Carolina. I was very fortunate to get this aircraft right here. I brought it from the Mid-Atlantic Air Museum in Redden, Pennsylvania back in 2005. And it's been here ever since. Give you a nice forward view of the F-14. The final flight for this aircraft was in 2006. And many F-14s were then shuttled to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, where they were to be stored. Some were to be broken up, and others were to be donated to museums. Now, this is a 1/48 scale F-14, and you could tell. I'll give you a bird's eye view of the F-14 Tomcat. And this was a great air show, and wowed so many crowds at a number of air shows throughout the 1980s and well into the early 1990s. The aircraft was featured in movies such as The Final Countdown, Martin Sheen, James Valentino, and Kirk Douglas, Top Gun, and Executive Decision, where this aircraft was to star in. And the one thing about the F-14 Let me put my camera down. Is that it has variable variable swept back wings, as I'm showing you from here. The wings could be folded back to allow for space on board aboard the U.S. Navy's aircraft carriers, and Iran is the last country to fly the F-14 Tomcat. This aircraft was given to the Iranian government in 1975, and orders were later terminated after the Shah of Iran was in exile in Paris before his death in 19